What is up, people, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, the sprint build's gone, so we took it down to Custom Minis and we built it all up, and the owner came down and he was over the moon with how the car's looking. So we sat down, worked out where we were going to go from there, as in what else he wants spec wise, how far he wants us to go before he takes over. So we're going to do mixed spec front and back subframes. They're going to go for powder coat. We're going to put a few more bits on the frame. That's going to go for paint. Brand new floor out the mould, and the chassis is going to be put in the mould, in the floor. Put the top on, so it's going to go to him as a rolling car. Got alley hubs, Mondo Sport arms, CAD bottom arms, CAD tie bars, alloy rear. It's got some nice bits, and that car is having a 2016 GSXR 1000 in the front. It's a new kit that's being done, so watch out for that thing, because that thing is going to be really good. I think we've probably got about another month's work to get that done. So that's gone. We've now got the next project in. Now, this is a lot of work. Not chassis work so much, so you chassis boys are probably not going to be that interested, but we have the Zcars Hayabusa. What did I call this thing? It's their race frame. It's not their road frame. This is actually their race one they do. So it's already got some trick bits on it. Gem 1. It's got auto blipper, flat shifter, decent shocks, nice brand new Force Racing rims, full exhaust. We've got Kirky seats, OMP wheel. I think that's is that a Willwood pedal box? Yeah, Willwood pedal box. It's got the Zcars front subframe with the inbound shocks, Willwood brakes, the big ones, like same as what I've got on my car. Freaking wicked. So it's all here. It's all there. It's just all shit, to be honest. And the chap knows this. It's all shit. The people who designed it probably had a really good idea in mind, and then the people who built it did a shit job. Some of the engineering, massively questionable. I can see why these things have got such a bad name for actually being able to drive them. So, this saying, we've got a massive list of work to do to this car. There's going to be a lot of man hours. So basically, everything's coming off. Everything. Right, so we'll start from the front. Radiator's going in the bin. Fuel tank, fucking that off, that's going. The front suspension setup is... I can't believe how they've managed to design it in such a way that the shock's leaning that way, your dog legs going off at a funny angle, and then your knuckles going back down that way. And then your top arm's at a massive angle and your bottom arm's square. So it does not drive well. So all of this front suspension's coming off. As I say, that's going, all these hoses are going, the alloy fuel lines are going. I'm cutting the pedal box out. I'm cutting the steering column off. Cutting seats coming out, cutting the seat mounts off. All of this is going from here. That's going, all this is going. That ain't staying there either. You may say, why are you cutting the column off? This is how it came from Zcars. Listen. Hear that? That is how it came from Zcars. And when you look at what they have done, it's like, if you look at that nut on the steering column, you can't depress the clutch whilst turning. because it hits the clutch pedal. That is how that came from Zcars. Ground off, welded on, because they couldn't get the nut in to clear the top bar. All of this is shocking. If you look at the angle, yeah, look how close you are to the pedal. When you depress the brake hard, your foot basically touches this. So what I'm doing is what should have been done. Look at the angle of the joints. Is I am moving the seat over. I know this is, the seat's more there because it's supposed to be a two-seater. But if it was a two-seater, I wouldn't have done that like that. So the seat is going to go over about 3 inches. Don't forget, all this is going to be here. The column's going over to the point where this shaft is as straight as I think is right. Then I'll mount this back in line with the seat. Then mount the pedal box. Then I can move the accelerator pedal over, because the problem the chap was having is when you push the brake, his foot, because he's got quite wide feet, his foot hits the throttle pedal. So I need to increase this gap here. So the pedal box will be going over touched, right? So that's one of the issues. Also, the hole in the bulkhead was put in completely the wrong place, and all I did was put roofing felt over it. These plates here that you can see are supposed to be basically the floor. I'll show you. They're supposed to be bolted through the floor. What the freaking did is they just cut the floor. Hang on, I'm still zoomed in, aren't I? They cut the floor out. That is what you can see on the inside. So I'm like, basically, there's one on the outside and there's one on the inside, but they cut the floor out. So they're just sitting there. They haven't even bolted them together. So yeah, the fuel system is just, it's not up to my standards. So all of that's coming off, all of that's coming out, all that's coming out, and I'm going to run, I'm having a friend of Price Engineering, going to custom build me a radiator. I'm shallowing it down slightly by a few inches because it's underneath here and it's not going to get any cooling. Oh, and by the way, this is how the Zcars mounted their oil cooler, right? And look what it has done to the radiator. Yeah, it's just shocking. But anyway, so custom radiator, I'm going AN16 fittings. I'm going to run AN lines through proper bulkhead fittings, and the AN lines are going to run down this side with the fuel line. For a hill climb car, you have to run a solid fuel line, so I'm going to use Group A aluminium line. Then we're gonna, the engine's coming out, by the way. This engine's coming out, and I've got a brand new 1540 full race motor to go in. I've also got Genvi throttle bodies, complete MBE management system, dry sump kit to go on. What else have I got? MBE dash, everything. So all the electronics are coming out the car. They're all going. Engine's coming out. That's going. Diff's coming off. Starter's coming off. Reverse flywheel's coming off. What I want to do is lower the diff. Just look at the drive shaft angle. Yeah? So I'm going to remanufacture the diff hangers to bring the diff down about 1 inch. So then when it's under compression, it should be running true. There is also a problem with the rear suspension where the camber is maxed out, but the wheel's still on the piss. So we've got to look at that as well. The list is massive. It's massive. There ain't no messing about. The front hubs need the bearings doing, the ball joints doing. So basically radiators out, fuel tanks out, seats out, columns out, brakes are off, engines out, exhaust off, diffs off, rear suspension needs a lot of fettling. And basically stripping it down. And everything that's going on the car is going to be pretty much brand new. So if anybody needs a Gen 1 booster engine, let me know. It's also got a flat shifter and a power commander, and it's got the auto blip downshift, which is this thing, and it's got the flat shifter there. That's up for sale. If you want to get in touch, leave a comment and we'll get to chatting. Basically, that's where we're going to be. There's a lot of work, awful lot of work, but we need to try and get this thing to the point where it will drive well, because he's used it twice and he said he couldn't drive it, drive like a dog. So that's where I come in, meticulous. So there's not really much chassis work to do on this car, there's not much welding to do on this car. It's mainly new engine, new running gear, new fuel lines, new water cooler lines. I'm fitting a David Craig water pump on it. We've got to manufacture the dry sump tank's going to go here. We've got to make all the dry sump pipes. A lot of work. There's a lot of work. But I might even get the manifold ceramic coated to try and keep the heat down, because the problem with these engines is, problem with these cars is your manifold's all tucked up in this little corner and the heat comes straight at the top and gets sucked straight in here. So your air intake temperatures just flies through the roof. So yeah, that's a quick look at this car. I mean, the shocks are wound all the way down. No preload at all. This is the height the chap needs the car at. So what we're going to do, I'm either going to use Owens Fabrication or Mini Sport ball joint droppers, to try and help start equaling out these arms. Then that will send this point down, which will bring this point up, which will allow me to start getting some preload. Then we'll start modifying the knuckles. Because at the minute, if you look at the positioning of these bolts, it's not right. This one needs to be lower. So what we need this bolt to go down, which in turn will bring this bolt up. Top of the shock will come up, so I can get some preload. Because what most people do, they run these as a 1-to-1 ratio, which is basically a point from there to there is the same from point there to there. So if this comes up 10 mil, that goes down 10 mil. I personally wouldn't. I'd want this to come up 10 mil, that to go down 15 mil, 20 mil. I'd want the shock to do its job so you can get decent setting on your shock, if you know what I mean. You want the shock to use its stroke for a small amount of the wheel movement. If you've got a small amount of shock movement for a lot amount of wheel movement, you can't dial your shocks in, because you will not be able to slow the wheel down. That's why you want more shock movement compared to actual wheel movement. Also, this should sit at 90 degrees to this bolt, right? So this shock angle you need to bring up, then go 90 degrees back down, and that is the point that your top shock should be, the top of your shock, or even just over. Because as this bolt runs through its travel, you want it to move straight down, yeah? Where, as is at the minute, because it's like that, this nut is going down and down. You know what I mean? Instead of it moving like this, it's moving like this. So you're going down, not so much down that way. You're going down that way. Because he's trying to roll it down to the floor, isn't he? If you draw a circle yeah, that's going to go down now. We don't want that. We want it to go down that way. So it's actually using the shock. You get me? So what we need to do is this nut needs to go down. Yeah? But to do that, we've got to modify all the suspension. So, yeah, that's something else we've got to work to. So that's what we've got to do. Oh, and we need to do front roll bar. But for some reason, Zcars thought where the roll bar mount goes, we don't need a roll bar, so we'll just stick the fuel tank there instead. How does that work? Mr. Zcar, how do you put a Zcar's tank right where the roll bar goes? But anyway, so this is the project. And we've got to get this thing driving nice, quick, nice. It should go well, but I don't know of a Zcar. I don't know many people with them, but I do not know of a Zcar rear engine that goes nice. They all tell me they've got handling issues, all of them. So, can we make this one work? Yeah? Well, anyway, thanks for listening to me mumble on about all the work we've got to do on this car. Oh, and another thing, to get that engine out of there, it doesn't come out the back. You have to take all the bulkhead off the seat and the engine has to come out of here. Because for some reason, that's the way they designed it. So you can't get the engine out unless you take it through the car. And how are you going to get an engine crane in there? I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to have a list of parts coming up for sale very shortly, which I'll let you all know what they are. And you can either, if you follow me on Instagram, which is SkiddyM84, they'll probably all go up on there. And I'll put links in the description. So anyway, to any bits I use, parts I use on this car, any measurements that I'm taking and using. If anybody thinks, you know, I might try that, then yeah, we'll get on with it. Right then, thanks for watching. Let's start the Zcar build, shall we? See you next one, people.